Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am KJ White with the Wrasslin for Life Network. We have your latest news updates. Lots to talk about. Is Jade Cargill going to WWE? Were the attendance numbers at Wembley inflated? What else is going on in the wrestling world? What does the Endeavor merger mean, or the purchase of WWE? We're going to get into all of that. New titles potentially, weight classes potentially. We got lots to talk about, lots to get into, folks. So let's have a little fun. Let's go. Hello, folks. Like I said, I am KJ White with the Wrestling for Life Network. We're jumping on to give you the latest going on in the wrestling world. So much to talk about, so many rumors and stories. So, we're going to talk about a lot of things here today. We're going to talk a little bit of Jade. Apparently, her time with AEW is done. The PWI 500 has come out. Will Ospreay's upset about attendance numbers. We'll talk about that. And a rumor about potential backstage discussion of titles changing in the WWE. But we're going to get into all that. But first, let's talk a little bit about Miss Jade as I bring this up. Boom. There you go. First story on topic is going to be Jade Cargill is apparently done with AEW. And a lot of reports, a lot of sources, multiple sources, but SRS was the first one to put out to the world that Jade was going to be moving to the WWE. We did see Jade recently return. She is booked for Friday night against the the TBS champion in Chris Statlander, and very interesting circumstances. Of course, we know that was recorded. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the outcome of that match would also help indicate that perhaps she is done. Perhaps she is moving on. I find it very interesting that she potentially would return only to leave again. But a lot of reports are saying that Miss Jade has seen the light and has decided to move her talents to WWE. For those who are a fan of Jade, like I am, this is very intriguing and very interesting. But realistically, people, if we think about it, if we talk about it, well, this is the power of what is happening with the WWE right now. WWE was already a giant. WWE was super big. And now you add in the merger with Endeavor, the purchase or the coming together of UFC and WWE. This is crazy because now you have this giant marketing team, this giant powerhouse entertainment company that can do a lot for a career. If you're someone like Jade that wants to be a star, maybe she wants to get into Hollywood, maybe she wants a bigger name. Where is it most likely that she's going to be able to do this? Well, it looks like it's going to be the WWE. She can go to WWE. Maybe she makes a little stint in AEW or NXT to kind of hone some of those skills. But either way, the WWE signing Jade would be a big deal. This would be the second biggest signing outside of Cody Rhodes and a departure. Now we're going to see more of this as more contracts come up. A lot of talks lately, especially coming off the heels last night of Christian Cage kind of hinting at it. Talked a lot about Adam Copeland. We've talked a lot about Edge possibly going to AEW. We've seen a lot of stars go to AEW from WWE, but now you look at other stars leaving. We already talked about Jade, Wardlow, MJF's contracts up in 2024. We know Will Ospreay's contract's up very soon. I know that's a New Japan contract, but if this is happening, this is big news. To me, there's not been many people in AEW booked as well as Jade was. She was booked as a powerhouse. She delivered time and time again. And now she potentially could leave. This will be a fun story to watch and very curious to see how it plays out. Will she remain Jade? Will they change her name? How will they repackage her? How will they prepare her? But undeniably, guys, if you're being realistic, Jade going to WWE is a massive deal. She is a superstar. She is an athlete. She has the look, somebody that could stand toe to toe with a Rhea Ripley, a Charlotte Flair, and stand over other talent that WWE already has in their roster. By the way, I will quickly say I see the chat blowing up. I might not click on everything as I always do, but what's up, Trey? JV's in the house, Rocco Chambers, more Rocco. But yes, thank you for being here. And yeah, lots to talk about in that regard. But there you go. No wonder they put no wonder they put the Statlander versus Jade match on Rampage. Her contract runs out. So yeah, if you were going to book her, we asked last night during Dynamite, why would they move this big return? Why would they move that to Rampage? Why would you have her big return match on Rampage? Now it makes a little more sense. So maybe she was contractually obligated to do so, but apparently she came in, she potentially does a job, and she potentially moves on from the company. This is something that Tony has to consider. And I know Tony gets defensive. I know Tony's gone public and said, we're not secondary. We're just as good as the other company. And that may be true in some regards. But when it comes to power, when it comes to moving the needle, when it comes to a global presence, AEW is not in the same league or realm as WWE, UFC, Endeavor. This is massive. And again, if you have bigger aspirations for your career, look at the number of people who are WWE talent that are viable Hollywood actors at this point. Other people have aspirations. We've seen that. The access, the ability to connect stars with the right opportunity, it may come down to WWE. So we will be following this along. Rocco says, I think Jade should be a surprise in the Rumble. Absolutely. I mean, if you could take the next couple months, keep her at the Performance Center, work on her skills. Because let's be honest, guys, Jade was green. We saw a lot of flaws, and she spent a lot of time being booked against other women who were on the greener side. So we did see some flaws and some, growing pains. If you just season her craft and you get her a little dialed in, a little bit better on promos, a little bit better in the ring, she is a bona fide superstar. When we talk about the future of wrestling, Jade has the potential to be one of those faces that we see for years to come. And I think this is a crazy move, big move for WWE, and it could be a big move for Jade's career. Hello, King J. Damien's in the house. Good to see you as well. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a story we will continue to follow. We'll continue to give you updates on. Also, breaking news today, big story. PWI comes out with their top 500 wrestlers, a big deal. The top 10 I will go through real quick. But I will say this. I've been critical of PWI before. Some of the results, some of the placements. I like this year's list. I happen to agree with a lot of it for a lot of good reasons. And I know this is always highly debated, highly contested, but it's going to be always that way. It becomes very objective. But at the end of the day, there's a couple names on the list, and I'll talk about them when I get to them. But we're looking at Seth freaking Rollins as number one. And that is hard to argue. And I know we've praised Roman Reigns a lot, who comes in at number two, and the name and the power and the clout that Roman Reigns has had. But Seth Rollins has shown up and shown out time and time again. He's made the new championship relevant, in my opinion. He gets booked a lot. He's in there a lot, and they're great matches. He's not just going in and mailing it in. And not every match ends in a DQ or interference. He gets in great matches time and time again. Number one for Seth is outstanding. Number two, Seth Rollins makes sense to me. He's got to be in the top three. Big deal. I love what Roman has done, though Roman has been absent. We look at what's happening right now with the Bloodline storyline kind of going cold. Roman hasn't been around, and it's hard to stay interested when you're not there. So that's a problem. He doesn't have to defend the title every week, every month, but he should be present or relevant almost every single week, or else we lose interest. Number 3, Jon Moxley. I know this is going to be debated, but in the realm of AEW, Jon Moxley has been the man. You might not love his work. You might not love what he does in or out of the ring. I'm not a giant Jon Moxley fan by any stretch. However, I do believe that Moxley carries the torch in a lot of ways for Tony Khan. I believe Tony Khan relies on him. When we saw the whole situation work out with CM Punk, Jon Moxley stepped up. Now he's the All Atlantic champion. And again, if that's your cup of tea, you love Jon Moxley. Some people have said Jon Moxley's the best doing it. I don't agree with that. However, you can't deny what he's done. So he's in the 3 spot. Maybe it's a little debatable. Number 4 goes to Gunther. That's right. Gunther is your number 4. And again, great for Gunther. Gunther's had an outstanding year. He's been, to me, one of the most prominent people on Monday Night Raw, the IC title, the record run he's had. This has been great. And not only that, when he gets in the ring, outstanding matches. He can be dominant, but you saw the trilogy that we've had with Gable. And if you don't have a guy like Gunther holding down a guy like Gable, Gable doesn't get over as he has. So for that, for my money's worth, Gunther's not a bad shout at 4. Then we go into number 5. Now, this is where I get a little bit which is Vikingo sitting at number 5, the AAA mega champion, I believe. And listen, he's great. He does a lot of things that a lot of us can't do. I don't know if he's a top 5 performer. I don't know if he's a top 5 needle mover. We've seen him work the indies a lot. We see him show up on AEW in kind of a who cares kind of role. And of course, he still has that AAA championship on his shoulder. But for me, number 5 is a little too high for Vikingo. I think number 6, MJF might have moved up into that spot. And that's just my take on it. Number 6 is MJF. And I think MJF has all the ability in the world to carry the company. He has. Him and Adam Cole have been great. The title holder, he garners interest. It's hard to argue with MJF in the top 10, though I don't think he should be behind Vikingo. Then we get number 7, Okada. Again, I don't know about Okada in the top 10 just because maybe I can't speak to the kind of year he had. He's had some matches that stand out, but I think there's other people that didn't make the top 10 that I'm a little surprised with, particularly Will Ospreay. But Okada gets in at 7. Orange Cassidy gets in at 8. Now, I know people have mixed reviews about Orange Cassidy, but at the end of the day, guys, let's be real. Orange Cassidy had a crazy title run. He wrestled all the goddamn time, doesn't miss a week, puts in the work. His matches tend to be pretty good. 8 might be a little high for some people, but for me, he's been a mainstay, and he's not terrible to watch. Yeah, I think that's going to be highly debated, but so be it. Number 9. I love number 9. And a shout out to Luna Havoc and Ringside Anthony, who will be covering Impact 1000 tonight here on the channel. Josh Alexander makes it into number 9. The walking weapon, a good old Canadian boy, outstanding, carries the torch. He just returned, and again, right back into the main event spot for Impact. He is an outstanding wrestler. He deserves all the kudos and accolades. And then number 10, Cody Rhodes, who, I mean, when you look at Okada or Vikingo, Cody Rhodes at 10 might be a little low by my standards, just because of his fanfare, because of how much he's used, not just in the ring, out of the ring. He's become like the global ambassador. And I know my dear friend Luna Havoc doesn't love Cody Rhodes, but for me, for my money's worth, he's definitely a top 10 talent in wrestling. So that's your top 10. That's what we're looking at. I agree with you, Chambers. Absolutely should be top 5, at least the top 10. The fact that Vikingo or Okada made it over Ospreay is inaccurate for me. I believe Ospreay had a phenomenal year. He's one of the best doing it. When he shows up to a big match, it is a big match. And when he speaks online, and we will talk about Ospreay again in a minute, but yeah, man, it's very interesting. I sense a stronger women's division with the addition of Cargill and Nia Jax for years to come. Look, you got Nia, you got Jade. They're building up. The NXT women's division's really strong. We saw Tiffany Stratton, what she did this week. The WWE, and one of the things that Triple H said publicly was depth. He's trying to build depth, and Jade Cargill comes in and adds a great deal of depth to that roster. She is a bona fide superstar. People can say what they want. Yes, still a little green, but she definitely has a lot of upside, and she will be a dynamic, huge star in this company. With all of that being said, let's move on to Busted or Not. Now, this one's a very intriguing story, my friends, because it was reported, we all heard about it over and over and over again. Generally, when you criticize AEW and Tony Khan, people will remind you, well, we did 81,000 or 83,000 in Wembley. You know, we can't suck. Look how many people tuned out or tuned in. Sorry, not tuned out. Some might have tuned out. But that all being said, the number that was announced was 83,131. The turnstile clicker gave us a number of 72,265. And this is according to WrestleNomics. So very interesting discrepancy. Now, does that mean Tony Khan lied? Does that mean AEW did just exactly what everyone's accused WWE of doing for years? Yes and no. Something to note from WrestleNomics, and I will read it real quick. WrestleNomics was told by sources that a typical AEW event has a drop count, also known as turnstile count, that is about 80 to 90%, which seems a lot to me, but whatever, of paid attendance or tickets distributed. In this case, 72,265 is 89% of 83,131. So technically not that far off of their usual drop number. But that being said, I mean, you look at WrestleMania 32, it had a turnstile count of 80,709, which is substantially higher than 72. And then it was reported at 101,763. So this doesn't necessarily mean that Tony Khan's full of shit. He keeps leaning on, and I say this all the time when it comes to AEW and Tony Khan, there's always these caveats to the records or to the accomplishments. Like, we're number one on Wednesdays in the key demo, or we're number one on this. And like, there's always some type of asterisk. And this seems like it's going to be the case here for Wembley. It was already a highly debated, contested event. And what I will say, folks, is I do not take anything away from AEW. The fact that the turnstile clicked 72,000 times, that's amazing. That's an accomplishment. But again, people online are very much inclined to say, well, why can't you just leave it alone? Because the people on the inside of AEW are the ones being braggadocious, are the ones consistently putting their opinion out there. And that opens you up to criticism. If you just get humble and let people praise you for what you do, you will get the praise. The cream does rise to the top, as a legend once said. So for my money, does this mean they were absolutely lying? No. Does this mean they have the record? No, I do not believe they have the record. Yeah, maybe paid attendance, but who paid? Like, if Tony knew that there was 70,000 tickets gone, could he drop a few grand to get the last 10,000 tickets through the door just to say the biggest paid attendance? It's possible. And a lot of people have speculated things like that. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. We will find out. We will see. But for my money's worth, I really don't care. It was a huge accomplishment. But yes, it does seem like everybody who bashes the WWE are also doing the same things that the WWE likes to do. Now, furthermore, somebody else doesn't feel the way I do about this. Mr. Will Ospreay, who we just talked about, should have been in the top 10 for PWI. This man went public yesterday as he had got the attendance tattooed on his arm, and he seemed a little disappointed that what is actually being reported now is not equivalent to his tattoo. And I get it. I mean, that's why it's risky depending on what you tattoo on your body. I guess Mr. Will's going to need some type of cover up, or maybe they can augment a couple numbers for him. But yes, it was a really good video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But he went out and he was just like, this is terrible. Like, this is brutal. Like, come on, bro. Yeah, no, they literally put the attendance on his arm, and now that number might not be as accurate as he once assumed. Also, and last but not least, actually, a little bit of a rumor story We'll talk about this one real quick, and then I'll get out of here. But yes, I read a report today coming out of several sources, and tell me I just lost it. Where'd it go? But yes, WWE is considering, or there's word that backstage, now that this merger has happened, is there a possibility of new title themes, revamps, new names, weight classes, which would be crazy, and potentially a trios belt in WWE. All things being considered. Now, by no means does this mean it's happening. This doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition, but apparently there's rumbles about it, like potentially returning to a light heavyweight division. I know they recently got rid of the 205 belt, but coming back with a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight, junior heavyweight, if you will, option. Very interesting. Potentially changing up the belts, which we just saw a new belt. So I don't know how far or how eager they are going to be to do that. A trios championship, very interesting. I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but I really think that it would be, that's kind of been like that AEW thing. AEW has trios and WWE doesn't. We already see WWE kind of having trouble with their tag team division, and if they can get that kind of sorted out and put together, then potentially being open to a trios would be a great idea. But remember, too many belts is a problem. But that being said, I mean, we talk about the influence of UFC. Could we have like a lightweight, middleweight, bantamweight, featherweight, strawweight champion in the company? Somebody suggested that this is a way to minimize, stretching disbelief. Now, the tricky part in the past has been the cruiserweight title or the lightweight title or the whatever you want to call it felt like a ceiling. Like if somebody like a Rey Mysterio was a cruiserweight champion, they were never going to be heavyweight champion, but then they want to be that marquee guy. So that is a very interesting take, something where does it feel different if each weight class has its own belt and you just want to be the best at your weight class? Does it make it more believable when you got, especially when you got an influx of smaller wrestlers? What do you do? So I thought that was a little bit of a funny story. Thought it was just kind of cute. But at the end of the day, who knows? We will see. Lots to be worked out. We already know that the UFC and WWE are talking about all-star TKO weekends where you get SmackDown, you get weigh-ins, you get a premium live event and a UFC all in the same weekend, all the same city. That is potentially coming the way as well. But folks, thank you for tuning in real quick. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, tell all your friends. Remember, Ringside Anthony, Luna Havoc are here at 8:15 p.m. tonight to cover Impact 1000. That's right, 1000. It's going to be episode 1. They're going to do it over 2 weeks. Big night. We will get to see number 9 on the list, Josh Alexander. But lots going on here at the channel. Be a part of the fun. Become a member. And until next time, we'll see you on the flip side, folks. Thank you. Oops.